All right, this is part 2 of the Father's Day recording made with TJ West on his podcast show called My Blurred Opinion. We're going to be exploring PTSD from a little different angle, because I was a young man kicked out of the military, and they chose to do that instead of just helping me develop skills in coping with the life problems I had at the time. Another thing we're going to talk about is shining some light on the issue of forgiveness, as if we have a right to establish some personal boundaries that puts realistic limits on how much to offer. And finally, I came to the realization some time ago that the 65% divorce rate in this country really means that Father's Day actually belongs more to the stepdad, especially when they choose to step in and be the dad if the children's father just can't seem to fulfill that role.
I did learn, TJ. I did learn, and if I could go out with this message and you guys never heard from me again, this is what is the most important thing for everyone to realize that has these internal invisible disabilities. This is where it is, okay? This is my theory about us as humans. We keep hearing that we are spiritual beings in a human experience. And I'm not religious. I've been there. I've done that. I've had keys to little churches where they give me a key where I can just come in and be there by myself sometimes because that's what I asked for. And from there, what I've realized, okay, my anger and my depression about my tricked adoption and my anger and my disgrace about getting kicked out of the Army. And by the way, I never did see combat action.
Okay.
Don't get that misunderstanding. I didn't come back post-traumatic stressed over that.
Right.
I was post-traumatic stress trying to figure out my damn childhood, my teenage years. Like, why did I have to see 5 stepfathers? And, where's my real dad? What's going on? And anyway, like you said, let them be healed. Let them be blessed. Look at that guy. He needs shoes. Give him shoes. I'll deal with my pain. Bless him first. That's where it started. When I took my eyes off of who hurt me and who did me wrong, who tricked me into an adoption, that's when I actually started seeing the path to kind of healing things. And really what started healing things, we talk about forgiveness a lot, and we always hear it. That's the next message in the spiritual journey is forgiveness. It's perfectly okay to offer someone forgiveness, and it doesn't have to mean now we can call each other and be happy. Now we can hang out and tell jokes. What it means is I'm letting go of the poison that they put in me because it's been killing me. I forgave my mother because she's a human and she made a mistake. But there's something I'm going to go to my grave with that, she doesn't really deserve me loving her freely and me calling her all the time, calling her on Mother's Day, calling her on her birthday. Because my brother and my 4 sisters, when they call me, it's so awkward. They don't really know what to say. They don't know how to be a brother. How do you be a brother? I never had a brother, and so it's awkward. And then my father, it's very awkward for us. So it's sort of like we are all trapped in this. It's no longer a depression; it's our reality. It's just the way things are. So I would say half of us in all of this problem have accepted it. We've reached acceptance, and we're like, well, that's just how it is, man. So let's go from here. The other half is like, this is too much for me. It's, the best example is my youngest sister on my father's side. I would call her up, TJ, and I would just talk to her like, yeah, I went here and I went there and I was in Alaska and I was in Portland, Oregon, and I've been to Germany and I saw this and I saw that and my mom remarried and this and that happened and I've been away from my children. I did not know that I was triggering her depression because there's things for her that she hasn't dealt with yet, but the way it came out was her being angry. So she would get mad at me and text me things, and she blocked me on Facebook one time, and I'm like, why are you attacking me? We haven't had a history. And
so, it's a strong analogy, but the reality is it points out the fact that, look, if you don't take care of the shit, just because you're numbing the pain doesn't mean it ever went away.
Nope.
And so
it gets worse, man.
Yeah, it gets worse. I mean, sometimes it goes away for a while, but then when it comes back and it fades back into the light, it's going to be harder than when you last left it.
Because it's been growing. Even without your attention, it's growing. And I can tell you the main thing that children resist when the absent father calls them on the phone. The children just want to talk about them because that's what they're familiar with and they're comfortable with. The children would rather tell the dad what they've been doing in school and how it's going at home. And it's up to the dad to just kind of listen and absorb and just say, hey, I love you. That's really great. And get off the phone. But as soon as, especially the homeless dad gets on there, the homeless dad tries to tell the children adult stuff. The children don't understand your damn adult stuff. The children don't really care why, you're not with their mom. And they don't care what definitely don't give the kids some damn message to tell the mom or whatever. That's manipulating the children in the middle. But if the fathers can just learn to be more patient, because TJ, I was always in a panic. I was like, I got to tell him this. I got to tell him what I'm feeling. I got to tell him what I'm thinking. I might, this and that and the other thing. That's the thing that drove us apart, was because I was telling them adult stuff that was too heavy. They didn't understand my adult stuff,
Right.
And it takes a very strong, courageous person, especially a father, expecting a phone call on Father's Day or anything. Just be willing to set yourself aside for a moment and realize these children, they're being bullied in school. They're watching other kids beat up each other in school. They're watching children that come home and, they let themselves into the house. The parents are never home. The kids fix their own meals. They get themselves to school. This is a different society we live in now, but our children still don't understand our adult stuff.
Right. And you're also
when
the
we
father.
try to unload it on them. Yeah.
And you feel you're supposed to be, in a sense, the protector, and you're gone. Again, that's the thing. Like there's things where you look at it where, I'm sure sometimes your kids have said things to you, like awful things to you, because because there's parts that they don't know and don't understand, and not everything really was your fault. Certain circumstances just got in the way, and then there's a part of it that really is your fault. And then it's a constant conflicting pain. And I don't have that pain, but I've had things like that where it's just like I'm battling it if someone's mad at me for something, and it's like I can't really fault them to the degree that I want to, because I know there's certain information that they don't know, but then the information that they do know, there's some stuff that I don't have, and that's the thing, we have a hard time, anyone, putting ourselves in other people's shoes, and if we don't do that. If we always think how we're supposed to come from that angle, like we're always going from our angle, we never look at other people. So if you start to do that, you can start to see where they're coming from. And again, in your case, it's their kids, so you obviously love them, and there's things they may have said that comes from pain, and there's a lot of things they probably, with you being gone, there's probably a lot of things that they didn't come to terms with. So now that you're back in their face, it's like, hey, Dad's back, and it's like, who are you?
Yeah.
And it's like, they feel some sort of animosity, and don't, and there's,
they're feeling naturally defensive, and this is also another universal thing that the dads that are out there right now that are going to be dealing with this in the future. My children grew up and they're having children now. Well, their stepdad, I'm sorry, I have to admit and be the man, he has earned his place in their family. I couldn't be their dad. They needed one. I couldn't actually be a responsible father. I couldn't even send them money and just do nice things for them. And even when I could, I didn't, because I was like pissed off at the mom, whatever.
Right.
I took it personally. This man has earned his place in my children's life. And what I've done recently, and I'm 53 years old, and it took me this long to come to this sort of forgiveness.
Right.
But I started sending private messages on Facebook Messenger to my former spouse, which I've never done. I've never interfered with their family because I wanted my children to respect me for that later on, even if they didn't understand. I missed out on their years, but later, now that they're coming back, dads, by allowing them to be a family with this man that took the place that I could not be in. So I sent my former spouse a message, and I said, I totally believe that this man deserves the cards and the candy on Father's Day. He totally deserves to be acknowledged as the father of the family, because when I was out there, TJ, I saw girls, a lot of girls out there as homeless runaways, and they were pretty quick to give up sex for dope,
Right.
or give up sex for some guy that's going to take care of them on the streets. They basically become his partner. She'll call him his boyfriend, but if she cuts him off from sex, he'll cut her out, just go get somebody else.
Right.
They have to find a way to survive, and they trade their body for their survival. My 3 children could have been that.
Well, I'm sure the
They could have
underlying
been that
theme
girl.
is they didn't have fathers in their life.
They probably were in foster care. There's a lot of children that run away from foster care.
Right.
But the thing is, my children didn't grow up having to be out on the street. They had a stable family, and it's because that guy gave it to them.
Right. What's your relationship
Now
with
my
them
children-
now?
My relationship with them now,
Yeah, kind of.
pretty much I'm Wayne and he's Dad, and I'm okay with that.
Right.
That took some time to adjust. I didn't like that feeling at first because I wanted to earn my way back, and I was always going to be their dad. He could be there, but I'm their dad. I had to go through that. Actually, there's a lot of distance. We are very distant from each other. And I mean, they live in different parts of the country, but even if we were in the same room, there would be a great distance between us because we've missed so much. There's absent memories because we didn't create memories together. So now that we're coming back together, we're not coming back together in relationship as a recovered father.
Right.
We're coming back in relationship together as I'm Wayne. I've been on a long journey. I used to be homeless. Now I'm a truck driver. Here's some pictures of places I've been, and we're starting there on purpose so that we're people getting to know each other as people.
Right.
And underneath now, the unspoken thing that we don't have to talk about, they know I'm their dad and I know they're my daughters.
Right. It's like
But
this.
I don't have to impose on them and say, you call me your dad. That's gone.
Right. It's kind of like the show I started watching where these people go on this flight and it goes into some turbulence and I haven't finished it, but apparently 5.5 years go by, and for them it was a couple minutes, and they come back and all their family, they're all happy to see them, but a lot of them have had other lives. They've married other people. There's a lot of things that have happened, and they're
Wow.
They're looking at them like, oh my God, I love you, but I don't love you the same.
Yes.
I found another person,
Exactly.
and I have another children, or I have this and this and that. And
I thought you were gone.
yeah, I thought you were gone, and it took me a long time, and I waited for you, but you never came, and now you're here,
Exactly.
and now I'm trying to pick up the pieces if I even want this to happen again. And
That's sort of a perfect analogy.
yeah, it's weird because I just started watching it today, and as you say that, if you want to get weird and spiritual and all that, maybe this interview was meant to happen, because honestly, I'm thinking I'm just gonna put this one out next episode. Now I just delete the episode I actually had ready because I didn't have anything for Father's Day. I just was gonna do my 1 year anniversary, but this actually it applies way more for how I've been feeling, and again, every time Father's Day is right here, and I plan on calling my father after this interview, before or after we met. I was just going to do it because it's Father's Day, and our relationship's weird, and I'm trying to figure out where I want it to go and what direction, but I still want to make sure he's okay and he's living, and and so there's so many things that kind of are parallel to this.
My dad has been, and this is another golden little nugget of someone that has. I'm further along in the path, and I'm trying to send a message back to people that are just starting this journey. Okay. My dad is a very, very simple person, very simple man. He was a meat cutter for 30 years. And to him, that's amazing. He never missed a day of work in his life. He hardly ever, they forced him to take vacations because he was always at work, Very simple man. He didn't finish high school. He doesn't have a philosophy. He's not into religion. He watches reruns of Gunsmoke. That's his life, okay? So the family around him over the years kind of have tiptoed around this topic. Where's Wayne? I wonder where Wayne is. He'd bring it up once in a while. Oh, I wonder what Wayne's doing. And they're like, yeah, we keep hearing his name, but we've never met him. So now, long story short, very forward, now I'm here and I'm back in his life. For about 3 or 4 years, especially on Father's Day, I would call and it would be about 3 minutes because there was no dialogue there because he was so confused and so depressed that I didn't know how to reach him. And I was so confused and depressed, he didn't know how to reach me. We didn't know how to talk to each other. Come on, So what I'm saying is there's a lot of things that went unsaid. Well, my dad's been sitting there consumed with confusion because he don't know what's going on with anybody. Recently, it's been on my heart so much. I think it was kind of the last dark door that I had to open and go in. I had to go in there, TJ. It's been the door I didn't want to open. You know what I mean? And I've been able to dance around it and go into these other doors and deal with other areas of my life. Well, I keep coming back to this one. That's the one that says, do not enter or enter at your own risk,
Right.
I opened the door, and what I had to do was I had to call my dad and I had to tell him a lot of things that I've told you on this interview he had never heard before.
Right.
He didn't know that my mother was married 5 times, He didn't know this and that. He knew about the fake adoption because we had to deal with that at one time.
Right.
But there's been things in my life he didn't know. And I said, you know what, Dad? I said, you don't know me really as a person. I said, but you know what? Marijuana hasn't touched my lips since 2012, and I smoked pot for 25 years of my life. I haven't had a cigarette since 2011, and I smoked cigarettes for almost 30 years. I haven't had a drop of booze since 2010, and I haven't had any medications for depression or anything else since about 2012. And he goes, well, damn, what do you do,
Mm-hmm.
I said, I'm telling you this. I said, because, Dad, I'm proud of myself. Most of my life, I said, I had no choice but to smoke pot because I didn't know how. I didn't have the skills to deal with my feelings. And I said, they were giving me medications for depression, and they were giving me medications for sleep apnea, and they were giving me all this other stuff. And I said, pretty soon I was so medicated that I couldn't actually really process how I think and feel about things. I said, so I went stone cold straight. And I said, now I'm trying to tell you, I've really missed you. He goes, well, I didn't think you did. I said, I've missed you terribly, man. I said, I just didn't know how to tell you or how to deal with it. Because when I get on the phone and say, I miss you, you go, yeah, me too. I said, then we get off the phone.
Right.
I said, I want you to talk to me and tell me, what do you miss about me? He goes, well, damn it, I missed everything. He said, man, he said, I've been with your brother. We went fishing a lot. I never got to go fishing with you, I took him camping a few times. I never went camping with you. He said, I always hated that. He said, because I thought we could have fun. As an adult, it ain't the same. 2 men sitting there trying to fish, it's pretty boring. If you're not catching anything, it's time to go. But when you're with kids,
Right.
they're skipping rocks. They're picking flowers. They're chasing frogs, and it don't matter. But I had to deal with my dad and tell him, I said, dude, I've tried to hide feelings, and I've tried to just be the man people wanted me to be. And I've tried to be the father. And I said, Dad, I failed at everything I've ever tried to do. I got kicked out of the Army, man. I got divorced. I ended up on dope. I said, I was living in a tent as a homeless person. He goes, yeah, Jason was telling me about that. And I said, well, I'm telling you because I'm going to deal with it, and I'm going to tell you. So the family keeps telling me, don't tell you things that'll make you depressed. I said, I have a feeling you're going to be depressed if I don't tell you things. So let's get it out in the open, For the first time, TJ, in I don't know, 10 years or something, we were on the phone for 20 minutes. It's usually 3 or 4 minutes,
Right. Progress.
We were on the phone, and now I'm breathing differently. Today, I can breathe again. I feel like I've got some things out that he needed to hear, whether he wanted to hear or not. And I think the family's going to find out indirectly as they start visiting with him, yeah, Wayne told me this and Wayne told me that. And they're going to be looking at each other going, we didn't really want to deal with this stuff,
Right.
But they have to. I have to, so they have to.
Yeah.
And I guess my message goes out to people: the longer you carry something that you know inside is burning you, if you carry it and never deal with it, it does not go away. Like you said, it don't go away.
Well, this is the end of part 2, and once again, thank you so much for listening all the way through. If you thought that was interesting in any way, wait till you hear part 3. We start going into some things unscripted and we just dive right in. And then we have a really cool surprise ending.